Hi folks, Donna Cato here. Um, Thank you for stopping in to my YouTube channel. I'm putting up a lot of basic information about working with polymer clay. So if you're a newbie or you know somebody who is a newbie, perhaps they'd benefit from seeing some of these. Now, a lot of the information can be found elsewhere, but it's going to be my goal to stock my channel with as much of this kind of basic information that will perhaps help you avoid problems, perhaps will make certain tasks a bit easier, and maybe even answer some questions you might be having. So anyway, today's basic tutorial is about jelly rolls. Now, the jelly roll is one of the most basic canes. If you're just starting to cane, you will know that there are certain canes that you start with. Jelly rolls, checkerboards, you're going to want to know the Skinner blend. You use striped slabs a lot. And you'll start learning how to build more complex imagery. But these very basic canes, the jelly rolls, the checkerboards, are really useful, or could be very useful in your work, so you got to know them. Now, this is what I call a balanced jelly roll. And I devised this method to make this jelly roll because when I made jelly rolls many times, I was not satisfied with the centers. And if you do what I'm going to show you now, the center of your jelly roll will always look like that, where it's equally balanced between the two colors if you start with sheets that are the same thickness. Okay? So this is called the balanced jelly roll. I'm going to start with black and white so you see it more clearly. And these sheets have been rolled through, the thickest setting of my pasta machine. So I'm going to put one on top of the other and then cut to trim. I make a lot of these. I find that I use this particular jelly roll a lot in my work. So just trim the four sides. And now this will be rolled through the pasta machine to thin it. So let's reset the machine to the next setting. So I'm putting the short end on the rollers. Thin it further. And I think I will go down to setting number 5. Now this is quite thin. You see how thin the sheets are. But when you make this cane, you have to bear in mind that because of the way it's made, the actual pattern will be twice the thickness of the black and twice the thickness of the white, because we're going to fold it in half. So just remember that. All right. Try to push any air pockets out from between the layers. Just work the bubbles to the edges and push them out. Now at this raw edge, I'm going to take my blade and angle it and cut away. Now let's roll from the fold. All right, we'll take a cut, and then you can see what the pattern looks like. There you go. And you can see that the very center is balanced between the black and the white. This one is finer. I think I rolled this one down through setting number 6. This was rolled through setting number 5. Okay, so let's move on. The next is going to be a very simple jelly roll using the Skinner Blend rainbow sheet I made earlier. Now, I took a test. It's a good idea to take a little test. Just cut a little raw edge away and just experiment and see what happens when you roll it up. Before you commit to the whole sheet. Okay, so I've rolled it up. And you know, I think it's okay, but it's not my favorite. Not my favorite. Now, this other sample sheet I rolled from the yellow center to the green. You know what? I don't really like this. It's not exactly a Skinner Blend bullseye. It's sort of nothing at this point. I even took and I rolled it really thin to see what would happen then. The same thing. And I still don't like it very much. So I took another piece and I experimented and I placed the blend on a sheet of this very dark charcoal gray. You know what? I like it. I think that the Skinner Blend pops out more. You can see it better. I think it's just a better design, and from a graphic standpoint, I think it works better for me than any of these. I mean, they're okay. As I said, they're okay, but I probably wouldn't be using them much. I'll use this more. So that's quite simple. All you need is your Skinner Blend, and you need a contrasting solid color. Now, it could be white. I'm going to use this black. Now, I believe when I did this, these were the same. They're pretty much the same thickness. So I'm going to make this black thinner this time. I'm going to make it thinner yet. So I think this sheet is probably through setting 3. It's not the thickest. And I think I'll stop there. So I've rolled this through setting number 5. I'm gonna trim some of these. Trim the edge so it's nice and tidy. I will try to remember to work in the middle of the frame. Okay, now I'm going to take my acrylic rod and I'm going to thin one side. I'm going to thin this yellow-orange edge. I had a bit of schmutz on my acrylic rod, which is a pretty common occurrence around here. Let me wipe off my rod. Okay. Good, got most of it. And then at the opposite end, I'm going to soften that, but the taper is not as long. So if you look at the side, it tapers. This end tapers for a greater distance than the green. Okay, so let's roll this up. I think that's a little too much. Cut some of that black off. If you have trouble getting it started, just take your blade and kind of work it up like so. My sleeves are coming down. I'm wearing my hoodie because it's still winter in the mountains. Okay, here we go. And this clay is nice and soft. I did put the Kato conditioner in it, but you want to work kind of slowly because, I'm asking this black clay, this thin black sheet, to do an awful lot. I'm asking it to stretch and stretch around the Skinner Blend clay. And as I'm rolling, the Skinner Blend clay is actually being compressed on one side and stretched on the other. But that black clay really has to stretch as I roll it around. And even if you have clay that's rather cold or hard, I think you'll find that if you work slowly, you can let the clay catch up and give it a chance to stretch rather than break. All right, so here we go. I actually like this one better. So this one, I think I rolled it through the pasta machine, so I made the sheet actually longer, so there are more revolutions around. But I really think this is a sweet little cane. I like this one. So I prefer this one over this one. Okay, let's set that aside. Now I've got two Skinner blends here, all greens, light, sort of a lime to a white, and then I've got this blue-green to the lime. So we're just going to take these two sheets and make a cane. Okay, so it's much the same as this one, of course, except I've got one blend and then a solid sheet of black. I think I will put, as I did here, the darker sheet on the outside. Because this is so thick, this is like 2 sheets through the thickest setting of the pasta machine. It's a little bit easier to roll, use the rod this way as opposed to this way. And actually, I think I have a little more control by working this way. To just refine the end, make that taper, and once the taper is made, then I can elongate it, not by so much pushing this way and trying to stretch it this way, because that's really not controllable. You end up with a very odd kind of, you can end up with kind of an odd edge there. So I find that it's better to actually pull the blade, not the blade, pull the rod to me. And then fingers are always good. All right. Now I'm going to taper this end. Same way. Okay, so this time the dark is going to be in the center, and the light will be on the outside. I don't think that was very clear. If you look at this, I took the light, this lighter green, and I started rolling from the lighter green to the dark. This time I'm rolling from the darker green to that lime green. So I've just reversed it. This sheet is awfully dirty because I took it out of my box with all my Skinner blends, and it had been sitting around for, I don't know how long time. Okay. All right, let's take a cut. Okay, so that's what happens when you reverse the colors. Okay, I am cutting here because the next, I don't like making these parts too long. So I will be back.